This is the Foxhole Podcast.
I used to have this old hat I got when I was on a TDY back east, back here. I was living in Arizona, and big University of Arizona fan, went to school there. And I came on a TDY out to the DC area, and it spanned a couple of weeks. And so over the weekend, I went shopping at like a TJ Maxx or something, just trying to blow the time. And I found in one of the TJ Maxxes or Ross or something like that, I found this University of Arizona hat. It was a really nice hat. It was like $6 or $7. I'm always out for a good bargain. So I picked up that hat. It was probably 15 years ago or so. And I took that hat back home with me to Arizona, and I wore it every day. I was super proud of it. It was just an awesome hat. I wore it, to do yard work. I wore it out with movies with my spouse and go out to dinner. I was wearing this hat. I just wore this hat everywhere. And not before too long, started to get a little wear and tear on it. In a couple years, the brim started wearing away, and you could see the plastic poking through the brim, and started getting some rings on it, and had some little tears. It definitely was starting to look a little nasty, but I didn't care. I loved that hat, and I wore it everywhere, and continue to, much to the chagrin of my wife. And every once in a while, she would hint to me, "Hey, might be time to put that old dog to rest." And I didn't. In fact, a couple times I found it sort of teetering on its deathbed as it was sitting near a trash can or getting ready to go out. I think I even pulled it out of a trash can. And I could tell that after a while, we would go out in public and I would wear that hat, and sort of started to bother my wife a little bit. But it was just gross. I agree with her, it was gross. But I loved it. And I held on to it. And I had in my mind that I was going to wear it forever. It was just the greatest hat and couldn't ever get rid of it. Then one day, I came home, and there was a brand new University of Arizona new edition hat waiting for me that my wife bought me. It was a great gesture, and I appreciated it, and I knew it probably wasn't cheap either. And I tried it on. It fit nice. I decided I needed to break it in, so I wore it around a little bit. And then I wore it outside. And I started wearing it a little bit more, and as the days went on, I was becoming quite accustomed to this new hat and this new design. And I liked it. And that old hat was just sitting around, really not doing anything but looking very nasty. So I eventually just decided, all right, time to get rid of that hat. But what's funny about that is I wasn't ready to replace that hat at all until I had something else to replace it. I wasn't going to get rid of it just for the sake of getting rid of it. Something had to replace it for me to be willing to do that. I never thought about it that way. It just happened that way. And I think that's a lot like belief systems. That our belief systems are unreliable. My belief system with that hat was I would keep it forever and wear it forever. I mean, it's not really an option. But it wasn't until I had something to replace that old one that I was willing to get rid of it. And the same thing with our beliefs. I think sometimes we get caught up in a victimhood mentality or a belief system that we'll never be better or won't have a quality of life because of some situation we were in or some card we've been dealt, that it's somehow our destiny to be a certain way. And that's just a rigid belief system. And as I said with my hat, I just thought I would have that hat forever. It was sort of foolish belief system, right? Of course I can't have that hat forever. But I wasn't ready to replace it. Wasn't ready to get rid of it until I had something to replace it. And I think that happens with our belief systems too, right? That we're going to believe we're destined for a certain thing, or that we're stuck in a certain rut, or that we're a victim of something until we have something to replace it. Some thought, some will, some idea, some notion. And everything we have begins with a thought, an idea. Everything you've ever done was preceded by a thought. So if you want to change your belief system, if you want to change your mind, you have to start with something, some thought of changing it. You have to have a thought to replace that old belief. I believed for a long time that my life was going to be unproductive because I was diagnosed with a very serious, life-altering disability. And that I thought I would shuffle my way through the rest of my life and I would be broken and unable to contribute to my family, or certainly didn't think I was going to have a good life. But it wasn't until I changed the belief system, I had a belief that I could do it. I started visualizing myself well, and I started taking some actions, right? Something to replace the old hat. So I ask you the same question, right? In your life, what is your hat? What is your unreliable belief system? And what do you have in your toolbox that you can use to replace that old belief system? What can you do? What thought do you have that you can begin to work on that belief system, to change it for you? You deserve it. You deserve to live a quality life. But for sure, no one's going to come and change it for you. You have to change it. So at some point, just like I decided, you have to decide to get rid of that old ratty hat and replace it with something that's better. Better for you, better for your family, so that you can live the life that you deserve.
This is the Foxhole Podcast.